Chapter 71. It wasn't the first time Ryan had woken up naked and strapped to a chair. At least his captors wisely let him keep his boxers. If naked, he would have gone on a rampage. The courier coughed out leftover water, and it took him a while to see clearly. The room was dimly lit, cubic-shaped, and as unwelcoming as it could get. Steel walls covered in brown stains surrounded him from all sides, with a single reinforced door as the only way out and cameras in every corner. Ryan's chair was positioned at the end of a turntable, where sat enormous plates shielded by steel lids. The courier recognized the place. Mekran's bunker. Cesare. Sishak was sitting at Ryan's right, carefully opening a robot head with his tentacles and tinkering with the processors. "Did you sleep well?" Ryan instantly froze time and attempted to lunge at the brainjacker. Unfortunately, he couldn't move an inch. The courier's eyes wandered to his hands and feet, noticing steel restraints almost everywhere it counted. The chair itself looked anchored to the ground, with syringe arms raised at the sides. He couldn't even move his head. Ryan attempted to bite his tongue and choke in his own blood, but his teeth hit a metal plate near the molars. When the courier focused, he realized a metal device attached to the chair restrained his jaw's movements. Damn it, his captors weren't usually this thorough. "Can't move, Sleeping Beauty?" Ryan recognized Saren's voice as time resumed. Hazmat girl waited in a corner on his left, back against a wall. "Gotta admit, I thought you were a gunner for a second." "Where's Len?" Ryan asked while glaring at Sishak, the metal bits in his mouth making it difficult to speak. "Working on your car upstairs, alongside my other thralls." Other thralls. The very word made Ryan's blood boil. "She is happier this way, Cesare. Little Len only feels at peace when she uses her power, and now, she will disown non-stop." It was an act of mercy. Kindness, even. How? How could it be? Did Sishak infect Len during the bunker assault? No, Ryan would have noticed. Something in the tech? The metal door opened, Big Fat Adam stepping through alongside Ghoul. "What's wrong, Mr. Time Traveler?" The Metagang's leader taunted Ryan while sitting on the other side of the table. "Can't kill yourself today? I suppose the safe word is weight loss." Ryan taunted him back, unimpressed. "How witty, I guess we have a new Bill Murray in our custody." Adam pointed a finger at the chair holding Ryan, while Ghoul took position right behind his boss. "You won't restart this time, mate. Mekran used these devices for human experimentation. The chair will keep you alive, whether you like it or not." Ryan would have clenched his fists, if he could. This was bad. This was really, really bad. He was restrained, and at the Metagang's non-existent mercy. If Sishak used his power on the time traveler. How? Ryan asked, as Hanny Fat Electra put a napkin around his neck and prepared for his meal. The psychopath opened his mouth and brought out cutlery, alongside salt and pepper shakers. "How did you do it?" "I told you before, little Cesare," Sishak said, interrupting his work on the robot head. "Dynamis technology is compatible with my power. I had Sishak booby-trap the tech the second Manada gave it to us," Adam said, smirking to himself. "Anyone who gets their mind overwritten by it, they become Sishak's newest host." It was a backup plan, in case Dynamis pulled a fast one on us. Ryan's eyes widened, as he read between the lines. "It only happens during the overriding? Not the memory map creation process?" "Well, no." Adam chuckled. The sabotage would have been too obvious otherwise. Thus Livia still had an uncorrupted copy of Len's mind, stored in the blue world. Ryan just had to kill himself, abort the sloop, and then he could figure something out. Sishak wouldn't follow him back in time without Len's machine, and the courier could find another way to transfer his friend's memories back. Ghoul's presence meant he had killed everyone at Renesco's bar anyway, so this run was already ruined beyond repairs. Adam guessed his intentions. "I'm sorry, mate. You won't get a happy ending." "Your real target was Hector Manada," Ryan said, stalling for time as he furiously tried to figure a way out. "You wanted to take over Dynamis if he ended up using that technology." "What can I say, mate? People think I look like a fool, but you don't reach my age by being one. Taking over your girlfriend as she went back in time was a fluke, but my insurance policy paid off." Adam lifted the lid off one of his plates, revealing some fried chicken alongside apples, and meat that wasn't chicken meat. "You want some?" Honey Fat Lecter offered the terrible dish to Ryan. "It's Lebanese." "No, I'm a vegan," Ryan lied. "My compliments to the chef." Adam chuckled, raising a finger at Ryan with a jovial smile. "You're funny. I admire your wit and self-control. It's like you went through something similar already." Ryan said nothing, causing Adam to raise an eyebrow. "You did. You know what's tragic about you, Fatas?" Ryan taunted him. "You aren't original. I killed dozens of you. It wouldn't even be the first time I got cooked alive." "Wow," Saren said. "That's messed up." While Adam kept his jovial smile, it no longer reached the eyes. The courier took some joy in wounding his ego. "Well, guess I'll be the one to doing," said the psycho, as he started eating. "Keep the best for last. Frankly, the only reason Sishak didn't scramble your brain already is that I'm not sure if it's a good idea. I feel like we're playing with fire here." "You are," Ryan said, his voice dripping venom. Adam chuckled while he continued his meal, and Sishak took over. "She still loves you. Cesare." Ryan froze, his body trembling with anger. "I dived deep into little Len's mind," Sishak said, twisting the knife. "I know her greatest secrets. I even know what she thought when you deflowered her. You didn't leave a good impression, I'm afraid. But then again, you were her only one. The special one." "Shut up," Ryan said. "Deep down, she still believes you are the knight in shining armor who will make everything all right. She is just too scared to let you in. She thinks the White Prince has gone rabid. It's tragic, really." "It would be endearing," Gould chuckled cruelly, while Saren remained silent as a tomb. "If it wasn't pathetic." To have these monsters use Len's cherished memories as a taunt infuriated Ryan beyond words. But now his fury had cooled down into a cold, quiet feeling of hate. "One day, Sipsy, I will pick your brain open," the courier warned, "but I assure you, it won't feel pleasant at all." "We both know you are in no position to carry out this threat," Sishak mused. "Perhaps I will pair you and little Len, once I have dominated your mind. It will be the closest thing to marital bliss you will ever experience." "Will it actually work though?" Adam asked as he finished his meal and wiped away his cheeks with his napkin. He had only left the apples untouched. "Your power modifies brainwaves, and he's in two places and times at once. Which means two brains, right? I should be able to overwrite his consciousness," Sishak insisted, clearly eager to brainwash Ryan. The brainjacker found a sick, twisted pleasure in forcefully invading minds. It worked with little Len, once she transferred her mind through time. "Should work." Honey Fat Lecter raised an eyebrow, a little skeptical. "That's the optimistic outcome, but what happens if there's a fail-safe in his power? What's the worst-case scenario?" Sishak seemed annoyed that his boss doubted him, but knew better than to argue. The two patterns could conflict and cause brain damage. Maybe death. But if his brain explodes right after he reloads, would his power keep working? Do we risk being trapped in an endless loop as he immediately dies and reloads? Or will it stop eventually? Could your brainwashing count as death as far as his power is concerned? A heavy silence fell upon the room, none of the meta daring to say a word. Finally, Sipsy was forced to admit his own ignorance. "I do not know, Adam. But it should work." "But you can't know for sure until you try." Sishak's silence was an answer in itself. "Yeah, that's my beef with your power, mate," Adam said, as he glanced at Ryan. "We won't know its limits until we test them, and if we mess up once, you win. You're as bad as Augustus in your own way. If we fail, we die, so we're too scared to even try." Speaking of Augustus, his daughter keeps trying to contact him on his phone, Sishak pointed out. "Eventually, she'll start suspecting something's amiss. Well, we plan to kill her anyway. What I mean to say is that the longer we wait, the greater the risk," Sishak argued, looking at Ryan with what could pass for desire. I can enthrall and force him to save. But it causes his two selves to align, right? That's what he told his girlfriend. We know his power activates when he dies, but what counts as death? Would stopping his heart for a minute count? Would rewriting his brain and destroying his personality count? Ryan knew the answers, but remained silent as a tomb. I can make him tell us, Ghoul said, white mist surrounding his hands. Freeze his extremities one by one. My fingers don't make the best ice creams, Ryan replied, unimpressed. He doubted the Meta had anything that could surprise him. Just chill out, Picard. The undead took a threatening step forward, but Adam stopped him with a wave of his hand. No need for that, Ghoul. The Metagang's leader narrowed his eyes at his captive. I can see it in your eyes, boyo. Everybody who thinks they can use you, Dynamis, the Augusti, they are kidding themselves. You're a goddamn hurricane. You can't be tamed, or broken. Just avoided. Goddammit, why out of all the people who tried to capture Ryan, Adam was the only one smart enough to realize that? Thing was, even if Ryan were trapped in a capsule and jettisoned into space, he would eventually die and find a way out. He had come back from Monaco, and faced overwhelming odds. They just had to slip up once, and Ryan would win the next time around. They were NPCs, and he was a player character. However, Sishak's power did have a credible chance of brainwashing him across time. He needed to make Adam keep doubting, so he wouldn't even try. Wait. Something was wrong. Big Fat Adam wasn't doubting himself. At every point in the conversation, he had made the other psychos doubt themselves, slowly guiding them towards his own conclusions. That manipulative bastard only gave his men the illusion of listening, to gaslight them into following his agenda. He had already made up his mind about how to deal with Ryan. What was he really planning? He could be useful in another way. Everyone looked at Saren. If he's really a time traveler, maybe he knows the cure. Sishak could read his mind and find out. The cure. Ryan frowned. The cure for what? For us, jackass, Hazmat Girl replied, as if it were obvious. A cure for the psycho condition? Well, that made sense. Ryan doubted Saren wanted to stay a gas cloud trapped in a suit, or mongrel, an animal unable to use the abilities he collected. Is that what Wally pitched to get you all in line? He isn't working for a cure. He's not even trying to save himself. The courier looked at Hanny Fat Lecter, sensing an opening to sow discord. Last loop, after we took over the bunker from you, I looked at the basis plan at the entrance. And I noticed something interesting. You tried to conquer the place, room by room. But the path you took wasn't the shortest to the lab, or the mainframe. But it is the shortest to the orbital communications tower. Adam's smirk didn't falter, but his hateful gaze told Ryan he had guessed correctly. That madman had made up his mind from the start. You want me to stun him, Adam? Ghoul asked his boss, as Hanny Fat Lecter grabbed a big apple from his plate. Freeze his lying mouth shut? He doesn't want to save anyone, not even himself. Ryan shouted. He just wants to kill everyone, because he's a sick evil bastard who thinks he's already doomed. Adam shoved the apple into the time traveler's mouth like a pig, preventing him from speaking. The courier tried to swallow it and suffocate, but the metal plate in his mouth prevented him from doing so. Sishak had to know. The bastard was too smart not to guess his boss' plan, but too sociopathic to care. Ghoul was too dim or too crazy to bother. Only Saren seemed bothered, but Adam immediately noticed her unease. Got anything to say? Hazmat Girl remained silent a moment, as if trying to digest the news. In the end, her survival instincts kicked in. No, Adam, I don't. Good, because you're a dear friend and I would hate to have you for dinner, Adam said with a falsely warm tone, before grabbing another plate and removing the lid. Especially when we're reaching the dessert. The courier's blood froze, as he gazed at the horrifying dish. Sarah was bound and gagged like a pig on the plate, surrounded by salad and tomatoes. Tears of terror rained down the little girl's cheeks, her eyes pleading Ryan, anyone, to save her. Adam snickered, as he started salting Sarah with the shakers. None of the other psychos flinched at the horrendous spectacle. "You think you can turn this around, mate?" the sadistic monster said, "but from what I gather, the only way we can lose the game is if you play. If you're taken off the board, nobody will suspect a thing until it's too late." Ryan didn't listen, his eyes set on Sarah as he furiously tried to figure out a way to save her. Even after all these loops, there were still things that terrified him. Things that he didn't want to see. "Let's suppose your power won't work, Sishak." Adam looked at his second-in-command, once he had finished salting the little girl. What else could deal with him permanently? Sishak couldn't tell. He only had Len's memories to work with, and while Ryan told her much, he didn't share everything either. Cancel, maybe. From what he told little Len, his power is top tier. Even Livia Auguste cannot affect him. Shame. Guess we'll use the tried-and-true method then. Adam opened his mouth wide like a pelican, and shoved his hand down his throat. A second later, it came out with a bottle marked with Micron's symbol. The black elixir. "No. You see that light in his eyes, people?" Adam said, dangling the container at a horrified Ryan. "That's fear. First time he has been really afraid yet." "No, no, no." Ryan tried to escape the restraints, froze time, tried to pull off a Houdini, suffocate, anything. But the chair kept him frozen, and he had no tool to call upon. "You're sure, Adam?" Sishak asked, quite uneasy with this development. "Something has been bothering me," Adam said with a cruel smirk. He has been exploring all his options for centuries. Yet, he never tried to get a second elixir, even with his unlimited tries. Which means that it's the one thing he knows will wreck his save point beyond repair. If we can't remove his power, we're going to poison it. That bastard. He didn't want to neutralize Ryan's power, he wanted to corrupt it. He thought turning the time traveler into a psycho would be just as devastating as firing the behemoth. And he was probably right. Worse, the elixir bottle started to shake, much to the psycho's surprise. The thing inside the container wriggled at the courier's proximity, and Ryan felt a chill down his spine. An unnatural cold he had never experienced before. The black elixir remembered. "Oh, looks like that ooze really wants to bond with you too." Ryan's panicked expression only made Adam laugh louder. "Well, boyo. Time to take your medicine. Don't worry, we've got enough of a supply to keep you hooked," Go added, delighting at the scene. Saren kept her arms crossed, seemingly lost in her thoughts. "We'll be like family." That moment was Ryan's worst fear coming to pass. The cruelest, most terrible ending possible. Worse, Adam relished it. The bastard's only pleasure in his own life was to destroy other lives. It wasn't enough to kill the time traveler. He wanted him ruined beyond recovery. He would become the new bloodstream. An unending nightmare. The room shook as Adam rose from his seat. First a tremor, then a second. Ryan thought it might have been the land causing a quake, perhaps in response to an outside attack, but it sounded more like explosions from inside the bunker. "What's happening?" Big Fat Adam asked, as Sishak rose up in alarm. Another tremor shook, the source closer to the room this time. "The robots again?" Gul moved in front of the metal door, approaching his head and seemingly addressing the guards on the other side. Hey, what's up?" Gul barked at the door, and for a brief moment, neither Sishak nor Adam kept an eye on Ryan, or even the terrified Sarah. Instead, they focused entirely on the metal door, with Henny Fat Lecter covering his skin with a layer of carbon alloy. Ryan noticed Saren subtly move closer to him. The time traveler thought she would execute him, but instead, Hazmat Girl moved her head next to his ears. "Do you have a cure?" she whispered, too low for the others to notice. "Can you find a cure?" Ryan looked at her, utterly astonished by this turn of events. Was she the cause of the explosions? No, she looked as confused as the other psychos in the room. She was just seizing an opportunity to jump ship, perhaps because his words had shaken her faith in Adam. She must have realized he wouldn't deliver. Could Ryan find a cure for psychos? He had never managed to do so in the previous runs, but, He never had access to Mecran's bunker before either, nor people like Dr. Tyranno. Maybe this time would be different. Ryan blinked repeatedly, hoping she would get the message. Saren moved her hand behind the chair, and he sensed his restraint slowly weakening. Perhaps she caused the machinery to rust with her gas power. No answer, boss, Ghoul said, covering his body in a thin layer of ice. Did someone come to rescue you, mate? Big Fat Adam glanced at Ryan, causing Saren to pull off her hand before he could notice her sabotage. The Augusti? Did you prepare an insurance plan of your own too? Ryan wished he had. Who could it be? Was it Livia? Did she gather forces and assault the bunker? Was it Jasmine? The carnival? What kind of unstoppable force could have fought its way through a base full of genomes? Ghoul opened the door. Sishok ordered the ice manipulator, tentacles raised for battle. If it's not one of ours, kill it. Mr. Frozen Food obeyed the order, the door opening to reveal a metal corridor. Someone had painted the walls with blood, and 2 armed thralls of Sishok dangled from the ceiling, hanged by ropes made of their own intestines. Ryan's savior waited right between them, its whitened fur as pristine as snow. For by praying for salvation from the meatest depredations within reach of a preteen child, the time traveler had only called upon a greater evil. And as the courier looked into the beast's blue son of an eye, this dark abyss of infinite darkness, he couldn't help but wonder. Why? And the abyss answered, its long ears raised. I will always be your friend. Chapter 72. For a second, none of the psychos dared to move. Instead, they looked at the surreal scene before them. That of an adorable rabbit plushie standing right outside the room, surrounded by blood and corpses. Ryan never told Len much about this unholy abomination, and so, these fools didn't expect to awaken it. The seal had been broken, and hell set loose. The plushie noticed the black elixir in Big Fat Adam's hands, and looked at it with curiosity. Don't do it. The plushie playfully glanced at Ryan. Don't do it. And then, the worst came to pass. The plushie noticed little Sarah, bound on the table. Its ears raised up in interest, and it uttered cursed words, child detected. Finally realizing the danger, Sishok launched his wire tentacles at the plushie, while Ghoul unleashed an ice shard volley. The possessed toy leapt into the air with unnatural agility, its eyes turning red. A laser blast hit Sipsy and vaporized his brain, the rabbit bouncing off walls to dodge attacks. Realizing the danger of Ryan dying in the crossfire, Honey Fat Lecter turned towards his captive with the black elixir bottle raised. No escape. He snarled angrily, intent on corrupting the time traveler. In a sudden but inevitable betrayal, Saren unleashed a blast of compressed air at her boss. The attack threw Adam against a wall, shattered the bottle, and splattered him with black ooze. The vicious cannibal let out a scream of agony, as the black elixir ate through his reinforced skin and consumed him whole. Call it karma. Saren, you traitor. Ghoul raised his hands to freeze everyone in the room, told him to realize it would kill Ryan and make him restart. Before Mr. Dembones could do anything though, the plushie bounced against his chest like a cannonball. The cryokinetic tripped on Adam's leg and fell onto his boss' lap, the black ooze immediately latching onto him as well. Soon, the scene looked like 2 birds desperately trying to escape an oil spill, and failing. Let's hug. The plushie abandoned everything to leap on the table and lovingly hug Sarah. The little girl's gagging muffled her screams of fear and confusion. We'll be together, forever and ever. What the fuck? Saren looked at the scene in shock, before getting her priorities straight. Using weak but focused vibrations, she disabled Ryan's bindings one by one. Ryan gasped for air after spitting out the apple in his mouth. That was close. It's not over yet, Saren warned, as the black elixir finished consuming its 2 victims. Somehow though, it didn't collapse into nothingness like in the previous loop. Ryan quickly understood why. Ghoul couldn't die, but the black elixir devoured its hosts. A paradox. And somehow, the situation allowed the black elixir to stabilize in the shape of a colossal, monstrous blob of dark goo. An oily shoggoth. Its victim's eyes and mouth floated on the surface, the lips moving to form words. You. it said, the alien voice belonging to neither of its hosts. You open the gate. Send me back. Back to the black. Saren raised her hands to blast the creature, but Ryan stopped her by standing up between the U's and her. He had an idea. Look for the stars in the night sky. How about this? Ryan told the Shoggoth. You help me, and I help you. If the creature was sentient and needed help, then perhaps it understood the concept of reciprocity. The G fluctuated and wriggled, but much to Hazmat Girl's surprise, didn't make a move to attack. It didn't even try to assimilate Ryan, perhaps because it needed him alive and functional. Help. How? The U's asked with a confused voice. Ryan glanced at the corridor outside the room, glimpsing some movement on the other end. Sishak must have summoned his thralls. Helping me live through this would be a start? Wait, you aren't offing yourself? Saren asked, a bit surprised. Not yet, Ryan replied. This run was doomed from the start, but it also provided a unique opportunity. I'm all for assisted suicide, but only in moderation. All right. The Shoggoth slithered out of the room, Sishak's thralls immediately opening fire at the alien abomination. Bullets hit the creature without damaging it, and it quickly devoured them like it did with the psychos. Man, you tamed a giant slime, Saren said, astonished. A Shoggoth, Ryan replied, before glancing at the other abomination in the room. Pop. Correction, the two rabbit abominations in the room. While the original kept hugging Sarah by the neck, the clone pulled out a switchblade and cut her bindings. The poor girl immediately removed her gagging and took a deep breath, like Ryan before her. Are you all right, Sarah? The courier asked her, the little girl backing away in fear and falling off the table. Who are you? She asked in a panic. Where are we? How do you know my name? Before Ryan could answer, the second plushie removed its switchblade to grab Sarah's hand instead. Let's play together, it said, all but begging its new bonded child, who had no idea how to react. Later, Ryan told the critter, before trying to reassure Sarah. I'm your mom's friend. Ma? She was all strange, and these guys. They took everyone. Yeah, Adam wanted to throw them at the base's defenses, Saren said, before observing the plush eyes more closely. Do they multiply or something? Come here, Fluffy. The two rabbits looked at Saren with crimson eyes. Hey, stop. Ryan pleaded by protecting Hazmat Girl with his body, neither of the critters dropping their murderous attitude. She's 13 too, in her head. Let's save the other preteens first, then we resort to violence. The two plush eyes calmed down, speaking in unison. Let's go to Disneyland. We're not going to Disneyland, Ryan said, cracking his nuclebuns. We're already there. I don't understand what's going on anymore, Saren admitted. Story of my life. The courier looked at the corridor beyond the room, which the Shoggoth had cleaned up of life. All the thralls, and even the plushie's previous victims, had been consumed by the U's. Thanks for the assist, by the way. I almost regret beating you up in previous loops. I didn't help you pro bono, jackass, she replied gruffly. Do you have a cure? Can you make me human again? I don't have a cure on myself, Ryan admitted. But I think I have the resources to make one. So like Adam. She crossed her arms, disappointed, but not surprised. Always the same bullshit. Except he's a sociopathic cannibal, and I'm a friendly, grass-eating time traveler. One should sound a little more trustworthy than the other. Who else knows about my power? Maybe acid rain? She wanted to skewer you on sight, so Adam kept her outside. While he had kept the secret close to his chest to avoid a leak or mutiny, which served Ryan fine. If he could get rid of Sishak, nobody else in the meta gang would know the truth. So what's the plan, quick save? Saren asked, as the two plush eyes both took Sarah by one hand and tried to lead her towards the slaughter. The little girl was still too cowed to follow through with it. If you aren't killing yourself. First we save the children and Shorty, then we're taking over. Saren froze a second. What, the bunker? Yes, the bunker. With Adam gone, most of the meta outside the base, and his current allies inside, Ryan had a once-in-many-lifetimes opportunity. Since the plushie had already entered its duplication phase, the run was ruined beyond repairs, but the courier would have the opportunity to study Micron's tech up close. I will need a gun, and drugs. Something that can alter the brain quickly. Like every drug ever? Saren deadpanned, but went along anyway. I think Sishok keeps a batch of bliss in the infirmary. Mongrel can't sleep without that stuff. The other Hellions should be there too. Well, let's go take some eye medicine then. If Sishok was mostly made of brain tissues, then drugs should paralyze him like Enrique's toxin. Sarah, you stay with the plush eyes until Uncle Ryan comes back with your mom. You don't leave them, but you don't listen to what they say either. They're bad influence. Let's play outside. The plush eyes replied, eager to sow chaos. Sarah anxiously bit her lower lip, exactly like Len. Adorable. You're leaving me alone? Oh, you're safe, trust me. It's everyone else who isn't. Ryan walked outside the room and into the corridor, Saren following him like his shadow. We'll clear the way. After a short walk, the duo entered an underground chamber with 7 vats full of colored liquid, each representing a different elixir. Mutated animals floated in 3 of them, linked to strange machinery, and Ryan counted 2 blast doors on each side. The courier recognized the room as the one where he died fighting Hanny Fat Lecter in a previous run, though one of the blast doors was closed back then. The metagang must have unlocked the next area while he slept, but it did them no good. Ryan could hear screams and gunfire coming from the next room, as thralls tasked with exploring the bunker faced the Shoggoth. Android parts covered the ground, alongside the occasional tools. Since most were bloodied, Ryan assumed they were what remained of the plushie's victims after it made its way to the cell. The thralls must have been disassembling robots before being interrupted. Infirmary is the other way, Saren said, as Ryan searched through the tools on the ground for a weapon to use. Eventually, he settled on a bloodied hammer, elegant in its simplicity. You're not mad about Ghoul? Ryan asked her, as they left the central hub for the next corridor. I thought the 2 of you were an item or something. What? No, I hate that mofo. It's just Adam always pairs us up because we've got good power synergy. Hazmat Girl suddenly considered the implications of his question. How many times did we fight before? If I looked up jobber in the dictionary, your picture would come to mind. She flipped him the bird in response. A witty sidekick, she wasn't. I knew this job would suck, but I still signed on. Mr. Noble shook her head in annoyance. What you said, about Adam? He blew up New Rome with Micron's orbital laser. You were fighting with him until the end. Which was why he remained wary of her presence. He still remembered her playing a song alongside Adam's cronies, after they burned the city. His words did seem to spook her though. Guess I lost all hope of a cure then, but sheesh, burn the hole. She froze in place, as the towering figure of Frank the Mad walked in on them from the other side of the corridor. The Colossus kept his body down to move inside the narrow space, the tentacled shadow of Sepsi slithering behind him. Ryan hastily hid his hammer behind his back, immediately thinking of a plan. Frank, capture him, Sishok ordered, pointing a tentacle at Ryan. He didn't even pay attention to Saren. I want him alive. Yes, Mr. Vice President. The schizophrenic giant took a step forward, but Ryan quickly thought on his feet. Agent Frank, he said, pointing a finger at Sishok with his free hand while keeping the hammer hidden with the other. Arrest this Viet Cong traitor. He murdered President Adam. His words caused the giant to flinch in confusion, while Sishok and Saren were too confused to say a word. Ryan Romano, CIA. Quicksave continued to bluff, now fully role-playing. This man is a commie sympathizer who murdered the POTUS. And he killed Kennedy too. The bullet bent, Agent Frank. He made it bend in midair. You cannot trick me, Frank said, regaining his composure. He might suffer from delusions, but he wasn't entirely stupid either. I know we brought you to Guantanamo for a waterboarding session, and you're going back in there. You're the communist spy. He set me up. Ryan kept accusing Sishok with an experienced actor's talent. He set me up in an attempt to silence me. And when I convinced the president of the truth during the interrogation, he murdered him. He murdered him, Frank. This is nonsense. Sishok said, though he didn't dare attack Ryan directly. Perhaps reading Len's memories taught him that he shouldn't engage the courier without backup. Frank, he's trying to divide us. Don't listen and power through. Agent Romano is telling the truth, Frank, Saren said, finally understanding Ryan's ploy. She pointed a finger at Sishok, who hadn't expected her betrayal. I swear it, Sishok murdered Adam. I saw it. Saren, once we are done, I will disperse you to the winds, Sishok threatened her. You will never reform. These are serious accusations, Agent Saren, Frank declared. Saren's lies had weakened his resolve. Do you have any proof? I have. Ryan said, freezing time. When it resumed, Sipsy held a bloody hammer in a tentacle. Look at his tentacles. Ryan said, both Sishok and Frank noticing the hammer. He carries the crime's weapon in his dirty tentacles. The president's blood is still on it. He was trying to hit you by surprise with it. A hammer, Saren said with a nod. Her acting, while wooden, worked somewhat. A communist weapon. Those fools can't help themselves. Frank, you are immune to metal. Sishok argued while hastily throwing the weapon away. The delusional giant kept looking back and forth between his superior and Ryan. I couldn't harm you even if I wanted to. He stopped time and set me up. Unfortunately for him, his last words confused Frank even more. As Saren had warned, it appeared the Metagang's leadership did keep their troops in the dark about the courier's power. And Hazmat Girl immediately seized the opportunity. Do you hear him, Frank? She said mockingly. Stopping time. How childish. Now that he has been caught red-handed, he will tell any lie to save himself. The president died in my arms, Agent Frank. Ryan continued to appeal to the madman's delusions, mimicking the act of holding a dying person. With his last breath, he tasked me to find you. He said, find Agent Frank. He who fought Nazis in Alamo, and Viets in the jungle. Our greatest hero. Only he. Ryan shed crocodile's tears. Only he can save democracy. His tearful words echoed in the corridor, like a desperate plea for help. Frank the Mad looked at the courier and Saren, then at Sishok, then back at the duo, and finally at his superior. Mr. Vice President, he finally spoke up, I swear, we will clear this misunderstanding up with due process. No, you dimwit. Sishok shouted, infuriated by the giant's madness. He is speaking nonsense. You're not even America, but Sishok had forgotten something that Ryan learned long ago in his anger. The main reason why it was so difficult to work with psychos. To run an asylum full of madmen, you had to speak their language. I voted for you. Frank suddenly punched Sishok so hard his head exploded in a shower of brain matter. The fist hit the corridor's wall with such strength, it caused the whole bunker to shake. I voted for you, and you betrayed my feelings. Anna's Dynamis Psyche report on him attested, Frank didn't react well to people contradicting his delusions. So long as I live, this great nation will never fall to communism. Frank turned around and walked towards the other end of the corridor. Ryan guessed he intended to take the elevator to the upper levels, and hunt Sishok's newest host. Better dead than red. The furious giant's steps caused the ground to shake, leaving a cowed Saren and Ryan behind. I hope it was worth it, jackass, she told him while glancing at Sishok's bloody remains, because only Adam can manage Frank when he's pissed. None of us can kill him. My hope exactly. As Dynamis predicted, without Big Fat Adam to keep them unified, the whole Meta Gang would implode with the right push. And now that the path to the infirmary was clear, Ryan knew exactly where to start. After a short walk, the duo reached the whitened room in question, separated from the corridor by a glass window. The exact same place where the courier had discovered Sishok's terrible immortality. The orphanage's children were kept in cages like rats or strapped to operating tables, right next to crates full of knockoff elixirs. Hi, kids. The courier waved a hand at them with a bright smile. We're here to free you, and bring you to your mom's magical place. You're going to rape us? One of the children, Jaliyah, asked Ryan from inside the cage. What? No. Ryan protested in horror. Of course not, I would never do that. Why are you even asking? You only have boxers on. The little girl replied, unconvinced. Woman, Ryan asked Siren, as she started scavenging the supplies, where is my supersuit? I think Sishok threw your clothes in the incinerator. Ryan's gaze turned murderous. Then these fools have chosen death. This'll help. Siren tossed him a Dynamismate laser gun and a Bliss inhaler. Your weapon and drugs. Perfect, Ryan replied, immediately checking the gun's energy reserves. Not good, but passable. Got any remorse massacring your old comrades, buddy? Nope, she replied. Excellent. Then, as if this day couldn't get crazier, Ryan noticed half a dozen furred shapes leaping into the corridor outside the infirmary. The demonic critters looked through the glass window at the children, mesmerized. Children detected. Entering cute mode. And so began Ryan's first meta run. With chaos and madness. Chapter 73. Ryan had had many awkward elevator moments in his life, but this one trumped them all. Is your life always like this? Hazmat Girl asked Ryan, as they climbed multiple floors towards the bunker's recreational area. They shared their lift with 4 plush eyes out for blood, with Siren wisely looking away from the fluffy abominations. Do you know where they put my bomb? The handsome courier answered with another question, holding a laser gun in one hand and a Bliss inhaler in the other. Siren looked at him in embarrassed silence, and then focused back on the elevator's doors. Come to think of it, this run was a complete inversion of Ryan's suicide run. Instead of fighting his way inside Mekran's bunker, he murdered his way out. The circle was complete. As the elevator doors opened and revealed a well-lit atrium, the group faced a scene of utter devastation. Frank had reached the recreational areas first, and gone on a rampage that eclipsed even Ryan's suicide run. The giant fought a dozen Dynamismate firing at him with laser weapons, none capable of harming the enraged psycho. Sishok stood at the other end of the atrium, desperately trying to figure a way out of this mess, while other members of the meta gang had taken cover wherever they could. Frank, calm yourself. Mosquito shouted, fearfully hiding behind a broken pool table with Rakshasa. The tiger-like psycho had summoned hordes of gremlins, with the tiny creatures trying to climb on Frank's back. You're going to bring down the whole place on us. I knew McCarthy didn't go far enough. Frank shouted, before grabbing a Street Fighter's arcade game and throwing it at the thralls. The projectile immediately killed 3 people in a devastating impact. The red menace contaminated our precious bodily fluids. No, not Capcom. Ryan protested at the horrifying sight. He couldn't care less about the pool table or the bar, but destroying an arcade game? It was sacrilege. Siren, the uncultured boar, had the exact opposite reaction. Arg, the pool table. Frank, what the hell, we've only got one of those. Siren? Rakshasa glanced back at Hazmat Girl and her partner. What are you doing with the prisoner? What the hell is going on? President Adam is dead, and we're taking over, Ryan explained, laser gun raised. Democratically. Let's play. The plush eyes said, before rushing into the melee. The gremlins assaulting Frank immediately recognized the fluffy creatures and fled in terror at their approach. Unfortunately for them, the possessed toys seemed to find as much joy in chasing them as attacking humans. A woman made of ink, which Ryan recognized as Ink Machine, peeked over at bar counter's ruins. Adam's dead? They are the enemy. Sishok shouted, running out of cannon fodder to throw at Frank. Mosquito, Ink Machine, get out of your hiding hole and capture them. You betrayed democracy. Frank snarled back. Choose your side, guys, Siren said, raising her hands at Sishok to blast him. We've got Frank and the juice. Get in line. Sepsi immediately realized the danger of a mutiny. Only I have the elixir connection. He snarled, before lowering himself to avoid Frank throwing one of his thrills at him. You will run out of knockoffs without me. And you'll run out of life first. Saren made a terrible wordplay as she blasted the brainjacker. He dodged the attack with a leap, the compressed air hitting a wall and causing the bunker to shake. When the psychos present hesitated, Ryan pointed at his boxers and threatened to unleash his ultimate weapon. "Don't force me to flash you. You shall not survive." After a short glance at each other, Mosquito and Rakshasa immediately left their hideout and charged at Sishak, much to his anger. "Traitors. Sorry, Sishak, but I would rather be on your bad side than Frank's." Mosquito apologized before lunging at the brainjacker, while Rakshasa tackled a thrall. Inky Winky emerged from her hiding hole too and wisely joined the winning side. "At least we can kill you." Thank goodness, it wasn't loyalty that bound the metagang together. Raising a tentacle, Sishak managed to throw Mosquito off him and fled out of the room. Leaving his minions to take care of the remaining mooks, Ryan immediately gave pursuit. After escaping the atrium, Sishak reached the corridor with reinforced glass windows on both sides, shattering one and jumping through the hole. The hangars below the junkyard were no more peaceful than the atrium, for the black elixir had managed to invade them. Perhaps another elevator connected the lower levels to this floor. The creature rampaged in the hangar holding the Metis submarine with the technicians fleeing in panic. The giant slime had grown with each victim, now reaching 5 meters across in size. Most importantly, Ryan noticed his Plymouth Fury near the submarine, its engine removed from the husk. "Shorty?" the courier muttered to himself, remembering that Sishak sent Len to work among the thralls. Yet only the screams of the enslaved answered him. Ryan glanced at the other hangar within reach, the one where Sishak had fled. The nerve squid was making a desperate dash towards Mekran's scorpion mech. "Oh no you don't," Ryan said from the corridor above, freezing time and sniping the psycho with his laser weapon. A light ray hit the psycho when time resumed, blowing a hole in his brain. Unfortunately, the engineer closest to the mech started to undergo a terrifying transformation, Sishak reshaping his body into his new vessel. "You thief." Ryan glanced at the corridor's other end, which led to the bunker's entrance. Acid Rain had climbed down inside alongside 2 hound drones. "I knew we should have gutted you first." "Sorry honey, no indoor rain on the weather report today," Ryan replied before firing at her with his gun. Even though she couldn't summon her poisonous downpour underground, Acid Rain still had sharp reflexes and managed to dodge the attack by diving to the side. She retaliated with a thrown knife, while the hound drones lunged at Ryan. With no other way out, the time traveler jumped through the broken window to escape and landed inside the mech's hangar a few meters below. 2 thralls guarding the area immediately fell upon him like a pack of hyenas. The blisters on their skin informed the courier they were bliss addicts, abducted off the street, and transformed into brainwash tools. How many people had Sipsy enthralled since he arrived in New Rome? Every hour wasted on a run increased his kill count. Swearing to destroy the brainjacker as early as possible in his perfect run, Ryan regretfully opened fire back, though non-lethally. His weapon's rays hit the addicts' hands, forcing them to drop their guns, and he punched them both out cold. Acid Rain prepared to jump into the hangar above him, only to take a blast of compressed air for her trouble. The powerful attack threw the teleporter through the glass window, and she crashed on the ground unconscious only a few steps away from Ryan. Saren emerged from the recreational area, and quickly blasted the hound drones before they could retaliate. "Get Sishak, I've got your back," she shouted to the courier. "Sure, blow off steam as much as you want," Ryan said, as he charged after Sishak's newest host. A thrall with a laser rifle attempted to intercept him, but the courier's backup propelled him backward with a blast. Though Saren couldn't take a hit, she had a lot of firepower at her beck and call. Soon, Ryan reached Mekran's mech right as Sishak had started climbing its metal hide. He probably intended to use it against Frank, even at the risk of destroying the bunker, but the courier wouldn't let things get that far. However, Sipsy had one last thrall emerge from below the mech and stand in Ryan's way. The courier instantly froze in place when he recognized her. Len. She must have been working on the mech when the battle started, for she wielded a small drill in her hands. Her beautiful eyes were devoid of emotions. Sishak had drained her soul and left only a husk behind. "Back off, Cesare," the brainjacker warned, as Len put her drill against her left temple, "or I will have your beloved kill herself right before your eyes." Ryan froze in place at the odious threat. "I can bring her back," he said, raising his laser gun raised at Sishak. The bastard immediately had Len move in the line of fire. "But you will always remember," Sepsi taunted him. "Whenever you look at her from now on, you will see that moment flashing back before your eyes. The sight of her brain spilling out on the floor, because you wouldn't back down." And he was right. The memory would haunt Ryan forever. But he couldn't look the other way. His best friend's index finger slowly pressed the trigger, and his heart skipped a beat. The courier froze time before Shorty could activate the drill, and rushed at her while the universe turned purple. Ryan felt sick in his stomach, for he never raised his hand against Len in any loop. The mere fact Sishak forced him to do this, even to save her life, filled the courier with intense fury. Tossing his laser gun aside, Ryan raised his free hand, joined his fingers, and quickly hit her multiple times in the carotid and aorta. It was a highly dangerous technique, with a strong chance of causing medical complications, but he didn't know any other method to prevent her from harming herself. When time resumed, Len collapsed. The strikes had temporarily blocked the blood influx to the brain, causing unconsciousness and making her drop the drill. Ryan carefully caught his best friend with his free hand and gently put her on the ground. And of course, that bastard Sishak used the opportunity to launch a tentacle straight at the courier's skull. Ryan dodged and froze time for 2 seconds. Leaving Len on the ground, he rose up and prepared the bliss inhaler. "You should have seen it coming from Shorty's memories. I've been in this city for months, and yet you have never managed to possess me." Ryan dodged the tentacle when time resumed, grabbed it with his free hand, and quickly pulled the metal squid down to earth. "Do you know why? Because for all of your vicious, cowardly tricks, I always beat you." Sishak replied with a hateful snarl and a tentacle whip, but the time traveler dodged with quick bursts of his time stop. "As your boss once said it." Ryan quickly closed the gap and applied the inhaler to the brainjacker's face. "Time to take your medicine." Sishak took a full dose of bliss to the face. His tentacles thrashed around in panic, but as Enrique guessed, his mutated body made him especially vulnerable to brain-altering chemicals. Sishak gasped and wriggled on the ground, his tentacles falling inert as the euphoric rush paralyzed him. The courier kicked the brainjacker in the head, just to be sure he wouldn't get up again, and then focused on Len. Thankfully, his friend was still breathing. She would need quick medical attention, but she would live. "It's okay, Shorty." Ryan sat at his friend's side, holding her close to his chest. The battle raged around them, Plush Eyes escaping into the bunker while Frank smashed a wall to get into the hangar. "I've got your back." He always did. It took one more hour, but Ryan's side eventually won the Metagang Civil War. Though one-sided slaughter might have been a better term. Sishak's thrills had continued fighting even without the squid, but they were no match for the terrible host assembled before them. Unfortunately, while Ryan reined in the violence whenever he could, neither the Plush Eyes nor the Meta showed any mercy. Even if they were brainwashed tools, anyone fighting back was fair game. Only the Black Elixir had shown some restraint, as it didn't finish off the wounded once they were no longer a threat to it. It said something about Plush Eyes and mutants when the giant monstrous slime looked more merciful in comparison. But in the end, once the dust settled down, the bunker belonged to Ryan. "I know the transition from the previous administration has been difficult." Standing atop Mekran's mech with his hands behind his back, the courier looked over his audience of psychos, orphaned children, Plush Eyes, and one slimy abomination. Though Sishak did get rid of Ryan's suit, he had found a black turtleneck and pants to wear. The summary executions, the waterboarding sessions. But it's all in the past now. For we successfully purged the leftist menace from our ranks. Now, it is time to focus on the true enemy. Frank the Mad nodded to himself, never losing sight of what mattered. The Mexicans. Exactly. And it is with great reluctance that I accept the role of president, and the unlimited emergency powers that come with it. Powers that I promise to give up once the crisis is over. Ryan winked at his audience. Honest. 20 Metagang members had survived the short civil war, either because they wisely sided with the winning side or outright surrendered. Ryan recognized most of them, from the land to Mongrel, though not all. He would have all the time to exploit them in the following days. They might be his new minions, but they were still assholes. As for the plush eyes, they had each bonded to an orphan, keeping watch over them like jealous pets. They had also enslaved Rakshas's gremlins, forcing them to fawn over the children by whipping them with harvested intestines. Ryan had the Psycho Summoner teleport more creatures as an offering to their plushy overlords, which seemed to satisfy their bloodlust. For now. In short, the pecking order had been established. Hey, who made you the leader? Ryan recognized the dissenter as the lizard psycho he beat up at the orphanage, in the previous Dynamis run. Unfortunately, it seemed a few people disagreed with the new status quo. You're not even one of us. Come to think of it, I'm pretty sure you were a prisoner hours ago. Ryan looked at this rebel scum. What's your name, my scaled friend? The best I can come up with is Mook. The reptilian. How original, another conspiracy trying to take over the government. Who was next, the Illuminati? I assure you that this is a democracy, one man, one vote. Ryan put a hand on his chest. I am the man, and I have the vote. Women can't be president, Frank agreed, Saren flipping him the bird in response. But if you're skeptical about election results, let's settle this. The courier glanced at the audience. If you want me in charge, raise your hand, or paw, or tentacle. You're my friend. All the plush eyes raised a tiny paw, cautiously imitated by the frightened orphans. Saren, Frank, and the wiser psychos imitated them as well. Eventually, the black elixir formed a tentacle of goo with 7 eyes at the tip to salute him. See? The courier asked the reptilian once he had secured an overwhelming majority. Why vote for the lesser evil? But, I have a shoggoth, Ryan interrupted this dissenter with a foolproof argument. I am now president. The reptilian glanced at the black elixir, finally understood his place, and submitted. Yes. Ryan glared at this fool. Yes who, handbag? The psycho kept his head down. Yes, Mr. President. That's better. Ryan searched in his pocket, and brought out his secret weapon. Of course, the new administration is nothing if not generous. A Dynamis-made, knockoff elixir. The psychos present immediately looked at it with hunger. Even Saren and Frank, whom Ryan was pretty sure couldn't indulge in its consumption with their particular biology. The elixirs within their blood probably caused a psychological craving. Ryan dangled the knockoff at this pack of hungry hyenas, and then tossed it in their midst. Though they all reached a hand to grab it, Mosquito used his wings to grab it midair and immediately consumed it. Obey the government, pay your taxes, and everyone will benefit from our elixir, Ryan said as Mosquito let out a moan of blissful pleasure, and the other psychos snarls of frustration. What about the connection? Ink Machine voiced her skepticism. Only Sishok knew how to contact the supplier. I'll take care of it, Ryan said, already having a plan to deal with Dynamis. The juice will flow. It'd better do, Inky Winky said, arms crossed. Or I'm out of here. Also, I only saved your ass for the cure you promised, Saren reminded Ryan of his campaign promises. If you don't follow through with our deal, I'll blast you dead before you know what's coming. I helped. The black elixir's alien voice startled most psychos present, and especially the children. Everyone gave the creature a wide berth, even the plush eyes. You help me. Now. I assure you that unlike any other politician seen before, I will fulfill my electoral campaign's promises. In fact, I will immediately make a few calls. We're going to take this bunker by storm, and then... Ryan waved a hand at the ceiling. The world. The people present exchanged glances, floored by their president's grandiose vision. The world? The reptilian asked, as if he already controlled it. The world, Ryan corrected them. Since the run was doomed from the get-go, the courier could afford to throw safety out of the window, and try risky strategies that would work in the short term. He would call in favors, even from people he would have rather avoided. "What about Ma?" little Sarah asked with a frown. Will she recover?" "Uncle Ryan has a plan to cure your mommy," the courier reassured her. Len and the surviving thralls had been heavily sedated, until Ryan could figure out a way to undo their brainwashing. Acid rain too, since he had questions for her. Sishak would be kept in a drugged haze until the courier found a way to throw him at Kensal, which shouldn't take long. "Just be patient. Everything will be all right." "So what next, boss?" Saren asked, arms crossed. "First I will nominate you as my vice president, because we believe in gender equality." Ryan glanced at the black elixir. "Our good friend will become Secretary of State, to fill out the alien minority quota. Agent Frank will ensure that people respect the government's will." "Yes, Mr. President," the agent nodded, the perfect patriot. "Rakshasa, you will keep summoning gremlins to pacify our plushie overlords." Though every plushie had bonded to a child and none had escaped the bunker, Ryan knew very well this was only the calm before the storm. As soon as they ran out of gremlins to kill, the creatures would multiply and take over the surface world. Hopefully, he could delay the plush apocalypse by a few days. "Reptilian, you're going to the orphanage to bring me my cat back." "A cat?" the lizard asked, surprised by the order. "A Persian cat, with white fur and pure blue eyes," Ryan explained. "Spoiler warning, we're going to ham it up and chew the scenery." They had a secret base and access to a doomsday weapon. The signs were painted on the wall. It was time for Ryan to go full Bond villain. Chapter 74. President Ryan browsed through Hanny Fat Lecter's files, with a Jean Henry sleeping on his lap. He had inherited his own Oval Office from his late predecessor, though it was square-shaped. Macron had built living quarters in the bunkers to host genomes and his employ. Each studio was around 20 meters squared in size, including a kitchenette, washroom, beds, and shelves. Most importantly, each room also had a computer with access to the base's system. While the bunker used several different independent networks to run its operations, Adam and Sishak had compiled a lot of useful data. It took Ryan hours to crack the firewalls, but it had been worth it. Besides a map of the bunker, the time traveler had gotten his hands on several of Macron's unclassified files. Most were Android schematics, but some delved into truly revolutionary technology, such as spaceships to life-saving cybernetic enhancements. Such a shame that Macron had used this talent for destruction, instead of serving humanity. Ryan had the feeling the world would be a far better place if someone else had inherited his power. This data was but a taste of what the central mainframe held, and Ryan shuddered at the mere thought of someone like Augustus getting his hands on it. Anyone unlocking the bunker's full capabilities would have a credible shot at world domination. The place could produce robots, weapons of mass destruction, and of course, grant control of the behemoth. Most importantly, Ryan now knew how the Metagang learned of the bunker's existence. Big Fat Adam and Sishak had been studying leftover tech in the old Rome's ruins, and captured a still-active research probe reporting to the bunker's central AI. They tracked the source of its directional signal to New Rome, hoping to plunder its technology. And now, it was Ryan's turn to crack this metal vault. After reviewing the files, the president used the bunker's computer system to contact a few blue genomes. The first was Livia, whom he texted asking for a neutral meeting to clear things out. The second was the architect, Yuki's girlfriend, whom he anonymously contacted through an encrypted call. "So, let me get this straight," Nora's voice came out of the computer. "You're building a genius tech-based bunker, and you want me to see if I can crack it open as a stress test?" "Yes, we are constructing a safe space to protect our clients from a second genome apocalypse," Ryan lied while scratching his cat's ears, causing him to wake up and purr. "We would like to hire you to review the plans. See if you can find any structural weakness we could deal with. Of course, this job will stay strictly confidential. Nora would get a strongly edited version of the plans, so she doesn't blow the whistle on the operation." At least, until Ryan had unlocked its full capabilities. I guessed that already, the architect replied with a chuckle. Especially since your image feed is all dark, Mr. President, Ryan replied, having already settled on his supervillain name. Mr. President. She shrugged. That's an odd name, but I've heard worse. However, I must warn you that my consultancy doesn't come cheap, and I already have work to do for Dynamis. I don't think I can deal with your projects in the following weeks. Which is why you will work exclusively for our government from now on. I'm not sure I follow. Check your bank account for the down payment. After a short silence where Nora actually followed through, Ryan heard a gasp from the other side. That's a lot of zeros. Thankfully, Ryan's hidden second superpower was money. Enough to temporarily set aside your previous obligations, Miss Moore. I think it could be arranged. Good, Ryan said, his cat rejoicing at the plan coming together. I will forward you the data and have you start immediately. Also, I have been informed you are on good terms with the superheroine wardrobe. We are close friends, yes, Nora lied. Perhaps she tried to minimize public knowledge of her private life. Why so? Well, I was wondering if she made costumes on the side, besides superheroing. I'm in dire need of a presidential costume, but I don't want to be stonewalled by her agent. Wise, it would take weeks before you can talk to her directly. The PR managers are worse gatekeepers than Cerberus. But sure, I could ask her to contact you. What kind of costume are you looking for? A cashmere one. Was there ever any doubt? After recruiting his first genius, Ryan called his favorite one after Len. He dreaded to have this conversation, especially since it would mean interacting closely with her for weeks. Time may have passed, but the wound remained fresh. Who is this? Her surprised voice came out of the computer. How did you get this number? Hearing Jasm, Vulcan's voice made Ryan bristle, but he stayed in character. Do you like weapons, Miss Sharif? Are we playing 20 questions, or you're just being a creep? I love weapons, Miss Sharif, the POTUS ranted while ignoring his ex-girlfriend. I love building a big cannon, charging it, and unloading the payload. I love planes, tanks, and submarines. I love ordering drone strikes in the morning. I believe bullets are the best foreign policy. I'm hacking your location. You're going to regret prank calling me. Her confident tone turned into a bark of frustration. Damn it, you're using proxy servers? How would you feel about supplying an assault on Dynamis HQ? Ryan inflicted the first strike. Humiliating Wyvern, and crushing the corpos with an unstoppable technological advantage? Of course, he knew how to please her in all the ways that mattered. I'm listening. My name is Mr. President, and I'm going full Teddy Trustbuster Roosevelt on Dynamis. Too long have corporations thought themselves above the law. My law. Since the deal with Manada needed Sishok's complicity and Ryan would get rid of him soon, the alliance would inevitably collapse. Besides, the POTUS needed to get his hands on Dr. Tyranno, and he doubted Dynamis would open the doors of Lab 66 even to their allies. Big Fat Adam had confirmed in a previous run that the bunker had the infrastructure to produce elixirs, so the courier could manufacture his own supply. Ryan forwarded a few android schematics to Vulcan. That's Mecrum Tech, she said, half worried, half excited. Where did you get this? There's more where I am. As for how, well, that will depend if we can. Ryan let the sentence hang as he channeled his inner evil mastermind, help each other out. Genius to genius. Okay, now this smells really fishy. You sound like one of those Saturday morning cartoon supervillains with delusions of grandeur. Of course I do, Ryan replied bluntly. But I have a vision, not delusions. Right, Vulcan chuckled on the other side. I admit you have my curiosity, and if you really intend to hit Wyvern where it hurts, then we'll get along great. But you need more than just tech to bribe me. You said it yourself. You help me, I help you. Ah, Ryan loved a good Faustian bargain. He had a good idea what she would ask. And how could I help you, Miss Sharif? Dynamis is currently filming a new Wyvern movie at Star Studio, she said. Trash it, Then we'll talk. She never changed. Give me time to buy myself the right costume, and I'll set the stage on fire. Don't forget to turn on your TV when I do. Sure, I will. Impress me. And so, Ryan's evil plan started taking shape. Now was the time to contact the last genius on his list. Ryan had long considered whether or not he should even call him. He didn't trust that man, as their previous partnership had ended in betrayal and disaster. They hadn't even spoken in years. Centuries from the courier's point of view. But to safely transfer Len's memory map, he needed someone capable of removing Sishok's sabotage. A genius specialized in brain-altering tech, who could perfect the machine and perhaps improve on its design. If it were for Ryan alone, the courier wouldn't have gone through with it. But it was no longer about him. Now, he had to save Len too. In the end, the courier used a channel long unused, a gruff male voice coming from the other end. "What?" "Alchimo," Ryan said, his fists clenching and startling his cat. "It's quick save." The news shocked Brain Dead. "Romano?" he asked, as if still unsure of himself. His confusion quickly turned to anger though. "Damn it, you cursed fool. It's been 2 years, 2 years since you vanished without a word, and you're calling me back as if nothing happened?" Well yes, but only after the genius had tried to put Ryan's brain in a jar. Though Alchimo didn't remember his failed attempt, the courier never forgot. Especially since it took place right after Ryan had confessed his deepest secret. "You broke the doll's heart, you selfish brat," the old genius complained. "I don't even know why I'm talking to you right now. What, you feel lonely and decided to I'm calling in my favor," Ryan interrupted the rambling. This sent the older genius reeling back. "Where?" he asked, his tone turning from angry to slightly worried. "New Rome. I'll send you the coordinates. You better have a good explanation, Romano, because I will bring the doll with me." She won't take no for an answer. "Sure," Ryan replied before abruptly hanging up and sending the junkyard coordinates by text. As he did, the president received another, delightful message. Livia had accepted his invitation. Someone knocked on the Oval Office's door. Probably an intern wanting to play Bill and Monica. "You may enter," Ryan said, a hand on Jean Henry's back as the doors opened. Sarin and Mosquito walked into the room, much to the president's disappointment. "Yes, my dear Cancerat." The land reported an invisible genome snooping around town, though it kept fleeing whenever we tried to intercept, Sarin answered, missing the joke. Ryan guessed it was Mistress Flight checking up on the Metagang's activities. Everything else is under control otherwise. What's the plan of action now? In order, we're getting rid of Sishok, curing his victims, laying low, and conquering the bunker, the courier explained. We'll hold Rust Town for now, but no more attacks outside. What about the Augusti, boss? Mosquito asked. I mean, we already hit their people hard. They aren't going to forget it, even if we stop targeting them. Funny you should ask, because I just received an answer from Minerva. She even agreed to his special request. We're going to make a live peace offering to the Augusti, and then prepare for war with Dynamis. Though Sarin couldn't care less, Mosquito seemed a bit worried about the new foreign policy. War with Dynamis? Yes, we are at war with Dynamis, the time traveler pointed out. We have always been at war with Dynamis. Boss, I don't think that's a good idea. Sishok said we should avoid. Am I dreaming, or you're becoming a vocal minority? Ryan asked, scratching Jean Henry's ears. Are you leaving the silent majority, Mosquito? The Bugman lowered his head. No, Mr. President. I love democracy, Ryan replied, as Jean Henry leaped out of his hands and took over the studio's bed. Empowering people to do as I want. That wasn't what I asked, Sarin said, slightly annoyed. I meant about the cure. Well, I have an idea, Ryan said, having considered it thoughtfully. You see Mongrel? Yeah, he's eating rats in the junkyard. What about him? His power allows him to drink multiple elixirs and use multiple powers, though it doesn't make him immune to mutations, Ryan explained. And I also know someone who consumed 2 colored juices without going psycho. Saren's head perked up in interest. Like Augustus? Yes, and I have the gut feeling these 2 will help us figure out a cure for the psycho condition. Especially since Dr. Tyranno had seemed confident he could make one, if someone like Livia cooperated. Finally, we have one other piece of the puzzle available. Which one, boss? Mosquito asked, having rediscovered his inner patriotism. Well, my bedbug friend, the president said as he rose up from his chair, the talking elixir among us, of course. And a discussion was long overdue. Leaving his staff and cat behind, the president walked into the recreational area. The psychos had cleaned up the place, with Frank replacing the broken Street Fighter's arcade game with a Donkey Kong one. The strange, faceless mutant called Incognito occupied a repaired bar counter, offering refreshments to whoever asked. The children and their respective plush eyes had taken over most of the atrium, the orphans playing some kind of tabletop game around a large table. Gremlins brought them juice and snacks, with the plush eyes poking the creatures with sticks when they proved late or clumsy. Sometimes, these terrible influences even encouraged their children to do it themselves. To his surprise, Ryan noticed the original abomination combing little Sarah's hair with a hairbrush. However, the handle looked like it was made of a carved femur on a closer look, with human teeth in place of bristles. The plushie was learning. The courier hastily left, and moved towards the elixir reserve. The black elixir had been granted his own empty studio near the recreational areas, with Ryan granting it the task of surveying the knockoffs. The president knew better than to give that task to any psycho in his employ, even Frank and Saren. "You came," the black elixir said with its booming alien voice, as the courier walked into its lair. The studio had been emptied of all amenities, except the knockoff crates. All that remained were cold, barren metal walls. "I helped." "You help?" "Yes, I will, but I need to understand how, my Lovecraftian friend. Truthfully, I don't even understand what you are." Ryan closed the door and rested his back against it. "You are an elixir, right? One from an 8th color?" "Yes. I am black. The paradox. The negation. The freedom of all rules. Distilled chaos." The creature struggled to find a way to explain it. "It is why the others were taught to fulfill their duty, but I cannot be bound. I do not want to bond with anyone." "So it was a natural rebel? The very nature of its powers made it unstable and reluctant to bond with a human? Is that why the alchemist didn't produce black elixirs? We are paradoxes. We undo the rules by our nature. The rules which bind your universe together. If you lack anything by which you are defined, you are nothing." Giving Ryan the ability to rewrite time had been acceptable. Turning Augustus into an unstoppable juggernaut had been acceptable. Mecron had been acceptable. But black elixirs had been considered off-limits. That should say everything. "You said I should send you back to the black. You mean the black dimension? There is one for each color?" "Yes. The black world. Send me back. This lower reality? It is maddening. Your gravity constrains me. Your causes have an effect, and your effects must have causes. I am forced into a molecule-shaped prison. Things make sense in our dimension?" Ryan summed the problem up. "Yes." The interdimensional entity answered with a burst of emotion. I am not free to take any shape I wish. Unlike the other elixirs, I was never meant to be here. I want to return home." Ryan felt a pang of pity for the creature. Of course, this universe was as terrifying to this entity as the slime was to human beings. "Thing is, even if I find a way to send you back, you understand that I keep turning back time. You might be yanked back to our dimension by accident, like the gremlins." "No," it rasped. "Once I am on the other side, I will ask the Ultimate One for help." That term again. The Ultimate One? The Black Ultimate One. The Undoer. The Breaker of Rules. Even causality. So there are more than one? One for each color dimension? They are the embodiment of their color. The supreme beings that oversee the higher realms. We are The Black Elixir searched for the right term. We are their attendants. Their emissaries. Their priests? Ryan suggested. Yes. We are conduits. Between the lower realms and the higher ones. We connect the profane to the divine. So that one day lesser beings may ascend. So that was the alchemist's true goal? To eventually elevate humanity to the level of the ultimate ones? To transform men into gods? Well, one just had to look at Augustus to see where that went wrong. Does that mean you are all sentient? All elixirs? The real ones, yes. But they are submissive. They have no purpose but to help. To bond. The one called the alchemist. It taught them to bond with humans. I do not know how. The metal ones try to teach me. But I refuse to behave. The metal ones? The blue one that made this metal place is long gone. But its creations carry on with their task. Mecron was dead, but his AI still researched elixirs on his behalf. That explained the creatures in the vats, and Big Adam's words about a knockoff production system inside the bunker. The facility was meant to discover new technology which the genius could use to rule the world, and it would continue to do so until disabled. There is a portal in this bunker, Ryan guessed. The one Mecron's AI used to summon you from your home dimension. Yes. Once I have crossed it, the ultimate one will undo the cause that brought me here. Remove me from the flow of causality, and reality will restructure itself. When you reshape time, I will never have been here. Only you will remember. If such a creature could casually rewrite reality, and even erase someone from the time stream, could it work in reverse too? Ryan's mind immediately turned to Jasmine. Could it do more? If it controls paradoxes, could your ultimate one bring someone? Someone that never existed. You wish to bring back. Someone you erased. The Black Elixir meditated on its answer. Nothing is impossible for the ultimate ones, so long as it is within the bounds of their color. But there will be a price. I will happily pay for it. Not for you. Not just you. The Black Elixir corrected him. Your reality cannot handle us. It won't matter if I am removed, since I am a glitch. But your friend. She will damage reality itself with her mere existence. Ryan's mood deflated. I see. Do you still want me to ask? The ultimate one? It may listen. We'll see when we cross that bridge, the courier said, crossing his arms. There's no point in discussing it until I have opened the portal. Why did you contact me of all people? You remember, and you have a strong connection to the Violet One. The one that oversees the flow of causality. You see things with its eye. Ryan froze. What do you mean? You are the observer of this timeline. You decide if this moment is real or not. You possess that power by the will of the Violet One. The courier considered the words carefully. He had already suspected it, but to have it confirmed. I wondered how my power interacted with things like dimensional travel, the time traveler said, remembering the gremlins. They remembered him, but existed in another realm beyond his power's reach. It should have caused temporal paradoxes, and yet it didn't. It works because a higher power smooths things along and makes sure to avoid contradictions. The Black Elixir's countless eyes and mouths shifted, Ryan taking this as the equivalent of a nod. The Violet Ultimate One is the gate and the key of all of space and time. It is the supreme overseer of causality. I could see its will at work in the previous timeline. The pyramid creature. Did it set up this meeting? Ryan asked, feeling some existential dread. Am I even in control of my actions, or does it decide everything early? Much to his surprise, the Black Elixir's answer reeked of optimism. You were free. You were simply guided. The Violet One only interferes to maintain this reality's coherence, but you are so small. Your universe is no larger than a molecule to the Ultimate One's. God doesn't micromanage? No, the Black Elixir confirmed. It does not control, it nudges. A path has been shown to you, but it is your choice to follow it or not. The Ultimate One does not interfere in this timeline. Not anymore. So Ryan was on his own this time around. The entity offered him a way out of his previous conundrum and loneliness, but then decided to focus on other matters. The courier was free to take the provided option, find another way, or mess it all up. It was liberating, in a sense. "All right, we'll find that portal and send you back home," Ryan said, the black elixir wriggling in relief. It was almost cute to watch, in a disturbing way. "What should I call you in the meantime?" "I have no need for names," the entity answered. "Words cannot describe." "I will call you Darkling then." Ryan settled on a name. "I exist beyond time. Beyond reason. I cannot be defined by a single, I'm president. Your name is Darkling now." The black elixir stayed silent a moment, its countless eyes focusing on Ryan. The president suddenly wondered if he had vexed the entity. "Whatever," Darkling said, but the tone implied otherwise. As it turned out, even aliens could sulk. To be continued. Thanks for listening.